I've been playing, congas. I kind of started messing around with congas when I was 18 or 17, my senior year of high school, my freshman year in college. We had the instruments, and I was always, really interested in African, Afro-Cuban, all, ethnic music, period, I grew up listening to a lot of 70s soul, a lot of 70s jazz, 80s R&B. And I mean, for me, it's everybody from, in the jazz world, Herbie Hancock, Chick Corea, Miles Stuff. Big fan of Tito Puente. Those people really inspired me a lot. Alatunde, Babatunde Alatunde, one of the first Africans to really, introduce us to the whole African vibe, back in the 70s. Mongo Santa Maria, Poncho Sanchez. Snare drummer for a long time in drum and bugle corps, called the Bayonne Bridgemen. I marched with them, and actually in the whole organization, they had a feeder corps that I started in. I started playing from hand cymbals to tenor drum to, snare drum, and I was in the feeder corps for 4 years, and then I went on to what was known as the junior class corps. When I was entered high school, so I was 13, 14 years old, and did it through all of high school, and through all of college. I did it for 7 years, and 11 years total. So that was a big part of my musical education. I grew up, right outside of Manhattan, and Bayonne was very much, a lot of people from different backgrounds, and within my neighborhood, I had Puerto Ricans, Cubans, Polish, a major melting pot, and I could always remember, neighbors, blasting salsa on weekends, man, and that for me, that was one of the beginnings of just loving the melodies and the trumpet stuff and the timbales and all that stuff. I've had so many wonderful teachers and instructors who have, taught me things, that they've learned from major musicians, I was fortunate enough to be exposed to people like one of my professors at New Jersey City University, Nick Serrato, who is, first drum set guy to do West Side Story with Leonard Bernstein, conducting it, and another gentleman by the name of Michael Hinton, who is a major symphonic player and Broadway player. And both of these guys studied with the major percussionists of the 60s and 70s, and the guys that beat the books that I use to this day. My instructors, either studied with them or, some of them in case they went to school with. I've been really fortunate enough to play with some great artists out there. Very fortunate to, play with some great drummers. Guys like Tony Braunagel, David Hooper, Ricky Lawson, names whatever, but more than just wonderful people, and they've taught me so much. I've been able to play with, great house bands throughout Los Angeles, that, night after night, amazing people would come in and sit in. I've played with Rick James, I've played with guys from the Gap Band, a lot of that stuff, a lot of R&B. Playing as well as I've played with some wonderful jazz artists as well. So I like to take the stuff that I learned on gigs and out there in this music business, and depending on what the program is like that I'm dealing with, is how I expose these kids to certain things that I'm dealing with, depending on what we're doing, at a certain time of the year, So that's a big, very important thing for me, part of my curriculum and part of my program, as well as really making sure I kind of stay up to date with a lot of the video DVD stuff that's out there for kids to be exposed to. I like to show them visually stuff, expose them to percussion from New Orleans, percussion stuff from Cambodia, world, all kinds of different world percussion stuff. And it really makes for a well-rounded program. And you'll see what they're receptible to, the things that they like and the things that they, don't really care for. It's really funny that I found out that these kids, some of them went out and bought their own little djembes and hand drums. And I've got, percussionists who now on Thursdays, are doing a drum circle every Thursday. So it's definitely affected them and, been a positive influence to them, on them, that's for sure. Percussion instruments is definitely probably the biggest family of instruments, from concert bass drums to concert snare drums to timpani, to the whole concert family of instruments, to metallic instruments, gongs and cymbals, and, tending to your keyboards, your chimes, and xylophones. So there is and that's just a part of the families I just mentioned. I didn't even go to the African and Brazilian and, Caribbean, so many Caribbean instruments, so many different techniques, and different mallets that we use and have to get used to, from playing a suspended cymbal to then playing a 36-inch concert bass drum to using your hands to play congas and, things like djembes. To using metal strikers, to using all different types of implements to play these instruments, and techniques to get many different sounds out of one drum. We use published material, published concert band music, published wind ensemble music. I use published actually percussion ensemble music, but I actually I rearranged stuff and I added a lot of my own stuff too, part wise. Use as well as a lot of my instruments on. I've been fortunate enough to have some wonderful endorsers like Innovative Percussion, Rhythm Tech, and Pisces Cymbals. That if need be, these guys have helped me out. With having instruments for the kids, and I use my own personal instruments to expose them, to as well. And if need be, I have a couple of few bells, cowbells, tambourines, stuff like that of my stuff that I, bring to the ensemble so we can just make it happen. The effect that we have, as artists, whether it be the dance program, whether it be painting, all the creative arts. It's an outlet that kids really, really need in their curriculum, in their high school experience, and as well as their junior high school's experience as well. Because without these challenges, without these things that they're exposed to, it really keeps their whole creative process. It stops their creative process. It stops them from dreaming, and to be able to utilize these pictures that they see, these songs that they hear, these dance moves that they see, to be able to have an outlet to use that and to have performances and to go out and work on something and have that whole, depending on the ensemble, the whole team experience, helping each other, you know what I mean? It's a tremendous effect on how they're going to deal with things down the line in life. Because when you're in a program like marching band or, a dance program or something like that, you're really stretched as a person. You're asked to be you're physically challenging yourself, you're mentally challenging yourself, you're having to learn moves, you're having to learn steps, you have to be responsible about being on time for rehearsals, getting there, being ready, and performing. those type of things that you're learning are going to be things that are going to have such an effect on you down the line, and you're going to be a much more well-rounded person.